Annyeong Buzz! Welcome back to the channel where we dive deep into the world of K-pop, idols, and everything that makes us stan even harder. Today, we're going to talk about someone really special. Someone who's known for his laid-back charm, his unique personality, and of course, his role in 17's hip-hop team. Yup, I'm talking about none other than Vernon. Or should I say Hansol Vernon Chwe. Now, Vernon isn't just your typical idol. His story is honestly one of those journeys that feels like a K-drama plot twist. Born in New York, moved to Korea when he was just 5, and then randomly scouted when he was in middle school. Like, imagine just walking home from school, maybe feeling tired or annoyed about homework, and boom, someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, wanna be a trainee?" That's literally how his life changed. And honestly, it makes you think, how many talents out there are just waiting to be discovered in the most unexpected ways? But before we get too deep, let's rewind a little bit. Vernon's background is fascinating. He's half Korean, half American, with his mom being American and his dad Korean. And here's the cool part. Because his mom didn't speak Korean when they first moved to Korea, Vernon grew up speaking English at home. That's why his English is flawless. But he's mentioned that now, after years of living and training in Korea, he's actually more comfortable in Korean than in English. That's kind of wild, right? I mean, imagine switching the dominance of your own native language. I'm curious, have you ever experienced something like that, where another language feels more natural to you than your first one? Drop your stories in the comments, because I'd love to hear them. Something that really stands out about Vernon is how close he is with his family, especially his little sister, Sophia. He even got a temporary tattoo of her name. Like, that is some next-level sibling love. And honestly, it makes me admire him even more, because in an industry where idols are constantly busy and away from their families, it's refreshing to see someone holding on to those roots so strongly. If you have a sibling, would you ever do something like that? I feel like some of you would say yes with no hesitation, and some would be like, nope, not tattooing my sibling's name. Now, let's talk about Vernon's personality for a second. On the surface, he's super chill, almost shy, and the members even voted him as the shyest one. But what's funny is that they also voted him as the member who acts the cutest around girl groups. That's a pretty hilarious contrast, right? Shy with the members, but suddenly eye-smiling when girl groups are around. Classic Vernon. And honestly, it shows how human he is. Like, we've all had moments where we act a little different around people we want to impress. Another thing I find fascinating about Vernon is his taste in music and style. His favorite rappers include Drake, Kendrick Lamar, and J. Cole. And when you think about Vernon's rap style in 17's songs, you can totally see that influence. Smooth, confident, and with a little bit of that Western flow. He's also said he admires David Bowie, which adds another layer of uniqueness. Bowie was all about breaking norms and pushing boundaries. And in some ways, Vernon gives off that same energy, like he doesn't want to be boxed in. He once said he sees himself as a really free person, and you can definitely feel that in how he carries himself. And speaking of being free, let's not forget his fashion sense. Vernon owns a lot of hats, and his style is described as casual but with a spicy twist. That's honestly the perfect way to explain it. Simple, but with something that makes you look twice. He doesn't go over the top, but there's always a detail that makes his outfit stand out. I feel like he's one of those people who could wear something basic and still look effortlessly cool. What do you guys think? Does Vernon pull off the "I didn't even try, but I look amazing" vibe? Because for me, that's exactly it. Oh, and let's not skip his hobbies. Reading webtoons, watching movies, and you're gonna love this, he's a huge Star Wars fan. Like, huge. He even bought a BB-8 robot when he was in Japan. Honestly, that just makes him so relatable. I mean, idols. They're out there performing in front of thousands, but at the end of the day, they're also nerding out over fandom stuff just like us. And isn't it cool that he's also a Harry Potter fan? Can you imagine Vernon sitting down with a chocolate cake, his cat Dodam beside him, watching Star Wars, and then later picking up a Harry Potter book? That's such a cozy image of him. And speaking of Dodam, yes, he's a cat person. He loves his own cat's name, Dodam, was actually chosen by his cousin. It's little details like this that make Vernon so interesting. Because while a lot of idols' lives feel so structured, he keeps these personal, almost quiet pieces of himself alive. And it makes him feel more relatable and down to earth. But let's get into something deeper. Vernon isn't just about music and fashion. He's also someone who seems to think a lot about life. In a Japanese 17 magazine interview, he talked about how he places importance on not discriminating against anything or holding prejudice. That's a big statement. It really shows how much he values open-mindedness and equality, which, in my opinion, is something more idols should talk about openly. It's refreshing and makes me respect him even more. And did you know he competed on Show Me the Money 4? Now, he didn't win. He was eliminated in the third round. But think about how bold that was. Being on a show that raw and competitive at such a young age takes guts. Even if he didn't make it far, that experience probably gave him a lot of confidence and resilience. Sometimes it's not about winning, but about showing up and daring to put yourself out there. And Vernon definitely did that. Okay, we're about halfway through, and I'm curious, do you think Vernon gets enough recognition for what he brings to 17? Because I feel like sometimes his chill personality makes people underestimate just how talented and thoughtful he really is. What do you think? Underrated or properly appreciated? One of the things that stands out most about Vernon is how he balances being both a performer and just Hansol. Like, on stage, he's this charismatic rapper, effortlessly cool, and always delivering his lines with precision. But off stage, you'll see him in interviews or behind-the-scenes clips just being this relaxed, almost quiet presence. I think that duality is what makes him so interesting. He doesn't need to try hard to grab attention, but somehow, he still does. And in a group as big as 17, that's not an easy thing to pull off. Now let's talk about something fun. Vernon's food preferences. This man loves chocolate, pasta with garlic and olive oil, cheeseburgers, and of course, chocolate cake and cheesecake. Plus, his favorite ice cream flavor is vanilla. You know, I think it's kind of endearing that he goes for simple classics instead of anything too fancy. It shows that he values comfort and things that make him genuinely happy. And honestly, I respect that. Let me throw this question out to you guys. If you could share a meal with Vernon, what would you pick? Would you go for pasta, cake, or maybe just grab some cheeseburgers with him? Another side of Vernon that fans really appreciate is his friendships. For example, he's super close with Pentagon's Kino. They even shared gifts like phone cases. And then there's his group MOLA, which includes idols like Jimin from Fifth Dan, Woods, Kino, and Nathan. That collective name, Make Our Lives Awesome, is already so Vernon. It's laid back but deep at the same time. Being part of that group shows how connected he is to the broader idol community outside of 17. It's almost like he has his own world where he can experiment and just enjoy music without the same level of pressure. And here's something I find really cool. Vernon has openly said that he doesn't care about appearances. Instead, he values personality and heart. That's rare to hear from an idol, especially when the industry puts so much emphasis on looks. His ideal type is described as someone with short hair and long legs, but more importantly, someone he can connect with emotionally. That's such a refreshing perspective, and it kind of reinforces the idea that he's a deep thinker, someone who's not afraid to go against the grain. Now, his journey also shows us how much resilience he has. He dropped out of middle school because he was cast as a trainee, and that decision completely changed his life. Think about that. Walking away from the typical path of school and friends to pursue something as uncertain as being a trainee. It's a huge risk, especially at such a young age. But look at where he is now, one of the most recognizable members of one of the biggest K-pop groups in the world. It makes you wonder, would you have been brave enough to take that kind of leap at 14? And you know what? Despite all the fame and recognition, Vernon remains easygoing. His members have said he's usually the last to finish anything, and the Hungs scold him for it. That's so funny and relatable because let's be honest, we all have that one friend who takes forever to get ready. But that's what makes him who he is, chill, unbothered, and not rushing through life. Sometimes, I think we can learn something from that, don't you? What I also admire is his ability to balance being shy with still putting himself out there. For example, he became a tutor on the variety show Tutor, teaching English to others. That takes confidence and a willingness to step into a leadership role. So even if he's seen as the shyest member, he's clearly capable of stepping up when it matters most. Let's also appreciate his artistic side. He admires artists like David Bowie, loves fashion, and even though he comes across as laid back, he clearly has a creative spark. Bowie was known for being unapologetically himself, and I think Vernon embodies a bit of that spirit. He's not the loudest in the room, but he leaves an impression in his own unique way. Before we wrap this up, I want to circle back to the idea of Vernon being underrated. In a group as huge as 17, with so many members who all shine in their own ways, it's easy for someone with a more reserved personality to fly under the radar. But when you look closely at Vernon, his versatility as a rapper, his sense of style, his thoughtful personality, you realize he adds so much value to the group. He might not be the loudest voice, but his presence is undeniable. So here's my question to you, Buzz family. Do you think Vernon gets the recognition he truly deserves? Or do you think he's still one of those idols who people don't fully appreciate yet? Share your thoughts in the comments because I really want to know how you see him. And of course, join the discussion in the comments. I'll be checking them out and maybe even replying to some. This has been Young Buzz, and as always, thank you for watching. Until next time, stay happy, stay positive, and keep buzzing with love for K-pop.